welcome today to the Talk Sober. And I'm Marcus. That's Terry over there that way.
Morning, everybody.
And today we're going to talk about lack of sleep in sobriety. And I think this is a really good topic because I haven't slept well this week. And I'm still sober, which is good, but I haven't slept very well. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how to deal with that. Like, how do you deal with not being able to sleep in sobriety? I remember in early sobriety, I had a lot of trouble sleeping, and when I was drinking, man, I never slept. And that's one of the things about being an alcoholic is the fact that you never really sleep. And there's debates about it, but I think that that has a lot to do with your mental stability, right? They say an alcoholic goes insane, and they also say there's a crazy cat walking around in Terry's house somewhere, or a dog, something over there. But they also he just left. He went out that door over there.
Oh, yeah.
But they say, if you have lack of sleep for a certain amount of time, then your mind is going to go crazy. Megan's here. She's on 52 days. That is awesome. That's like I just remember like 7 days and like 15 days, and so that's awesome to hear. But yeah, lack of sleep is a big thing. It does affect your irritability, your mental stability, the way that you react to things. Because what it does is it takes all of your cognitive reasoning and kind of throws it out the window, and you're kind of on a base desire level where you're like, hey, you know what? I got to respond to this. I got to deal with this. I'm going to, fly off the handle if someone gets mad at me. And things aren't as they seem, right? It's not like you're living normally, and we all know that after having a great night's sleep, like last night, I got a pretty decent night's sleep, although I woke up at 6 and then again at 8 or something like that. I was trying to wake up at 6, but I didn't sleep at all the night before. I think I got like 2 hours. And it's interesting because I remember my go-to used to be drinking to be able to sleep. Like if I was up and I was trying to sleep, I'd be like, "Hey man, fifth of Jack will take me right out."
Yeah.
Um, but I was never really sleeping. I never really had that sound sleep that gets your mental clarity back on track. So it was just a big cycle, and then I'd wake up feeling like crap because Jack isn't the best for sleeping or body functioning at all. And it would just be a big cycle. Crystal's got 77 days. That's awesome. Terry, what are your thoughts on when you drank, sleeping versus sleeping in early sobriety versus now?
Well, when I was drinking, um, I slept, although it wasn't quality sleep, and I was always tired. Um, I'd end up passing out is basically what I did every night. But when my alcoholism really was in its full blown state, um, I would pass out 9, 10 o'clock at night, something like that, whatever. And I'd wake up at 2 because I was starting to detox a little bit, and I'd have to do a couple of drinks to go back to sleep, and then I'd sleep again until 6, wake up, drink some more, maybe do a few things around the house, pass out again, sleep till noon. That was my life.
And what did that feel like? Because I know for me,
It was,
it,
oh,
it
go
was
ahead.
hell. Yeah, it was hell.
Yeah.
It was like I never felt good. I was always groggy. I was always irritated. I was always on edge. Like I would wake up and something minor would happen in business or life or to the house or whatever, and I would fly off the handle, and it would be like the end of the world over one little thing. And it was like a cycle I never got out of until I got sober.
Right.
And when I got sober and I got actual decent sleep, and I started to forgive myself a little more because one of the things that I was big on as an entrepreneur was, I wake up early, I get shit done. That's what I do. That's my thing. Um, and when I was not productive or I couldn't sleep, I'd be like, man, I gotta call tomorrow. I got a lot of stuff to do, and I just couldn't sleep. And then I'd wake up and beat myself up mentally over, what I couldn't get done, or I'd try to force myself to sleep, or I'd try to drink myself to sleep, and then I'd wake up with the hangover, and it was like a cycle of hell. It was a cycle of never getting clarity, never being able to deal with my feelings. I would toggle between sad, angry, frustrated, um,
Yes.
and then like super excited and ready to go. right? There'd be
Yeah.
like a little window of time where I'm like, I'm gonna take on the world, and then 3 drinks later, I'm like taking on the couch,
Right.
and it sucked. So what did it feel like for you? Like, what was put us there? Like, what was that like?
Well, I had a lot of the same feelings, those bad feelings that you're talking about. It was frustrating. I was constantly tired. But let's say, I when I'd wake up at 6, I would drink some more, and then I'd have that euphoric feeling that the alcohol would give me, which
Hmm.
never went away, even to the last day I was drinking. But I'd so then I'd start to get some stuff done. But my getting stuff done was cleaning the house, cleaning up the mess that I made the night before, whatever, and it wouldn't last long.
Hmm.
And it was frustrating because I had so much that I was going to do. I had all these things in life that I was going to do, and I just never got them done because I was so tired. Um, Everything was drama. Any little thing that would happen would just be it would be the biggest thing in the world at that
Hmm.
time,
Yeah.
and it was so frustrating. Um, I did have good times. I did have good feelings when I was in the depths of my alcoholism, but it was really false because it was when I had just had a whole bunch of drinks and I felt good
Yep.
for a few minutes, and that was it. When I got sober, um, my sleep still sucked for a good 2, 3 months. It slowly got better, but man, I remember in rehab, I didn't sleep much at all for the whole time, especially in the very beginning. Sleep was almost non-existent, and that was just the detox. It was difficult, but sleep slowly got better, and I really think exercise was a huge thing to
Hmm.
allow me to sleep, get my body nice and tired, and
And
that
that's
helped.
probably what's going on with me. In addition to some drama in the family, which is keeping us up talking. I haven't worked out in a couple of weeks. We got a new workout guy because our old one broke her foot, and I've been really busy, and he's been busy, and he was sick, and then it was just not working. And that's no excuse. I should work out on my own. Um, but I remember, like you said, you're really riding the waves of, hey, I'm really good right now, and I'm really shitty right now.
Yeah.
I remember one time there was a guy on here who says, his wife said he'd thrash around and pass out and, yell violently. And I remember one time we had a big house in California, and for some reason, where I decided to punch the wall, big wall. I punch the wall where there's a stud and I break my finger in a violent rage of drinking and everything like that. And I noticed that, hey, and I'll try to speak up. I know we got, oh, you know what? I might be running out of batteries. Let me get some new batteries. Um, but I broke my finger and, I was all pissed and I decided to drive myself to the hospital. Not a good idea. And then I remember one night when I had my cast on, because I had a cast down to here, and I was so frustrated. I was trying to like rip the thing off and kind of go crazy from there. And it was always an endless cycle, and the sleep was crazy. Let me just change these batteries here for.
Right now, it looks like Marcus is changing his batteries. So, you know, when I was drinking, the sleep was horrible,
Yeah.
and um, hold on, I'm just watching Marcus see
Okay.
if he's ready.
It's back, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there I was, and I tried to rip my cast off. I threw things across the room. I was never violent towards people. I was only violent to myself, which was good for other people, but bad for me because, hey, I'm violent to myself. And it was really not good, and it really stemmed from not being able to sleep. And what I found is in early sobriety, I was up till 3, 4 in the morning. And what I did is I said, I'm just going to listen to tapes on the phone or on the MP3 player, and I would spend that time because it was like, okay, I can't fight it, and so I would just listen to things and learn. And I think a lot of what I learned in early sobriety by listening to that stuff is what keeps me sober and what gave me the different mindset shift, which is good. And I found that the best way to get to sleep sober is to not fight it. Like the other night, I was like, whatever. I'm not going to fight it. I put my headphones
Right.
on. I went out and had a cigar at 3 in the morning. The dog was doing who the hell knows what. And in Florida, you kind of got to watch out because we got like bears and panthers and stuff running around. And, our dog thinks like a flea is going to kill her. She's a chicken. But unless it's us, then she's like mean and don't take what I have. But I don't know. She's got mental issues. But you look at that, and getting to sleep is important. And the more you fight it, I think the worse it is. If you're sitting there like, why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep? Rather than just accepting, hey, you know what? I'm just awake right now. And I think another thing to realize is that whether you're drinking or not, drinking obviously is like this, what I'm about to tell you, times 1,000. But we're constantly putting chemicals in our body, and our body is a chemical machine. I mean, we, as alcoholics, we know that. We are affected by the alcohol chemical and what it does to our body. We're affected by sugar. We're affected by caffeine. We're affected by TV. TV does something to our mind where you feel like you're resting and tired, but then you turn it off and you're like, why can't I go to sleep? It's because of the chemicals your body produces while you're watching it. And we have to really look at the fact and kind of submit to the fact that, hey, you know what? I'm a chemical person, and this is what happens. This is what happens when you put chemicals in you. This is what happens throughout daily life. And I think once we get a routine and we start to stick to it, that's what happens is we get normal, right? Like when I work out and I don't stay up late talking about people who are not nice, and we deal with stuff like that. And it's like, get that routine down and focus on that. And in early sobriety, if you don't sleep, use that time wisely to do something. And you'll find that you'll eventually fall asleep to a talk unless you're listening to a lunatic. The other night, I listened to a lunatic guy. Very entertaining and very interesting. But like every 30 minutes, he was like, and what you need to do. And I was like, oh shit, I'm awake now. And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to listen to like a Zen teacher or something. Maybe that guy's not the best for sleeping. Um, and and I actually talked to a YouTuber friend of mine who he's busy as crazy, and he's like, I only sleep 4 hours a day, and I'm like, wow, I I don't know if I could do that. That'd be cool, but I can't do that. And he said, because in his business he consumes so much information, so much learning throughout the day. At night, if he doesn't listen to a story, he can't fall asleep. So that's kind of an interesting thing too, because a story is kind of like going to lure your brain away, and you'll eventually fall
Right.
asleep. Sometimes hypnosis stuff will help as well. So I think those are things that help me. What are things that help you when you just can't sleep?
Well, I'm very fortunate and I'm able to hit the pillow and fall right asleep pretty much all the time. But the few times when when I'm having trouble going to sleep, I just lay there and try to clear my mind, which is pretty difficult, especially when you got things going on in your life and they're spinning around in your head. But what I just tell myself is, just like you said a few minutes ago, is I don't fight it. I don't worry about it. If I'm laying there, I'm still resting. I may not
Yep.
be getting the REM sleep, but I'm still resting. And I just kind of look at it that way.
Mhm.
And maybe I lay there for an hour or so, and I usually end up falling asleep. Um, my issue is now I have an old dog that has to wake up at 4 in the morning and wake me up
Mhm.
because he's hungry, even though
Mhm.
I make him wait till 5:30. But so I just go to bed a little bit earlier so
Yep.
I get enough sleep. Um, but the dangers of sleep and well, alcohol, as far as how it affects your sleep, for me, um, I I was snoring real bad. I was married, and um, my wife had me checked for sleep apnea, and I had sleep apnea. I was stopping breathing up to 40 times a minute throughout the night, and that's considered moderate to severe sleep apnea. I had to get a machine and all that, and wear the machine, and that's how alcohol can affect you. And I didn't think much of it until a friend of mine that's kind of similar body as me and all that. He ended up passing away in his sleep, same age as me. He passed away at 53 years old, and yeah, it's a dangerous thing, and alcohol affected my sleep that way. So it's a dangerous thing. But nowadays, exercise is really what does it for me. I go to bed tired. I don't work out every day, but I do stay pretty active, and that seems to help me a lot.
Mhm.
And just being able to kind of let go of the stressful things in my life when I do finally hit the pillow, that helps.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because I study a lot of weird stuff just because I like to learn everything. I love to learn, and I studied at one point like how the brain can be affected by certain things, and it led me down a trail of studying how they dealt with people in like torture situations and brainwashing and everything like that. And you'll notice that in brainwashing cults, in concentration camp stuff, in interrogations, and anything where they're trying to change your mindset, a lot of times there will be sleep deprivation as part of it. And the reason that happens is because they know, or the reason that works is because they know that sleep deprivation is a big key to your mental stability. And if you're not getting that sleep, your mind just starts to get crazy. Your anxiety's through the roof, which is crazy. I mean, if you think about that, it's like anxiety through the roof if you don't sleep. I remember when I was
Oh
drinking,
yeah,
if I didn't get a night of sleep, my anxiety was there was times I couldn't walk to the mailbox that was like literally on our property. And you know, it was crazy and I couldn't get out of it and it really was difficult. And I think for people that are looking for a way to manage their sleep while drinking, I would say maybe stop drinking for a while and learn how to sleep normally and focus on it. Like Megan says, you know, in the nightmares in the beginning of sobriety were the worst part.
yeah,
I did have some nightmares sometimes, and she said she almost didn't want to fall back asleep. It was so terrifying, and her sleep finally got back to normal around 30 days sober.
yeah,
And that's usually what we find too. Is that about 30 days sober, you start to get into a routine. You start to accept a lot more. And a lot of life is about accepting things, accepting that not everyone's going to give you your way, accepting that sometimes you just can't fall asleep. Sometimes you just feel like shit. And for me, as an alcoholic, my medicine, like you go to medicine cabinet, they got all their medicines and stuff. You go to mine, it's like, all right, well, I got a cold today. Jack is good for colds because it burns your throat, and you know it takes the sore throat away, and it'll help you sleep. Oh, you can't sleep? Well, we got a great remedy over here. This you know, Jägermeister or whatever. Not that I ever drank that stuff. That is some gross stuff. Um, or you have this, or you have that. And that was what my medicine cabinet looked like. And I had a remedy for everything, and the remedy for everything was alcohol. But
right,
it wasn't solving any of my problems. Anxiety was getting worse. Sleep was getting worse. Mental clarity and mental stability was getting worse. I even, towards the end, when I was really having a hard time, I remember my therapist got all excited because I had developed a head twitch. And she was like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "Oh, great. Now she's going to like come out with all these letters of what's wrong with me." And really, all that was wrong with me was I was deprived of sleep and I was an alcoholic.
right,
And we really have to separate those things because I think a lot of people put the cart before the horse when it comes to alcoholism. And they say, well, if I could solve my issues with my mother, if I could solve this depression, if I could solve this, then I'll be able to drink normal. Obviously, I drink crazy because of all these things. And what I found is the exact opposite to be true. I have all these things because I drink. And it's very difficult to admit because alcohol seems to help with certain things. Alcohol is like a sociopath in your life, and it pretends to love you and it pretends to care about you. And in the beginning, it's charming and it woos you and you feel good and you're like, hey, alcohol, I'm a little anxious. Well, have a little bit of me and go to the party and you're going to feel great. And you have this relationship where you're like, hey, man, I love this. This is great. I'm going to put this in my medicine cabinet. And, you know, today I'm not that tired. I'll drink, I'll go to sleep. But what happens is alcohol doesn't really care about you. It doesn't really care about your feelings. It's incapable of it because it's just a chemical. And you find as you go along, hey, I've been like dancing with the devil here. I've been dealing with something that is really messing me up. And again, we're not talking about people who have wine with dinner and are not alcoholics. We're talking about people who are alcoholics who alcohol is causing negative consequences in their life and they can't sleep and they can't live and they can't function. And that's really what alcoholism is about, and that's what it does to you, which sucks. Um, let's take some of these questions here. I know we got quite a few coming in.
Yeah,
Any standing out?
let's see. Well, I'll just go from the beginning. Hey, Chris,
Sure.
good to see you again. Always love your insight and your perspective on things. 1, 2, 3. Can't sleep at night till 2 to 3 a.m. I used to stay up drinking till that time. The nights I drink, am like a zombie the next day. Then gonna try valerian tabs and CBT oil was recommended too.
Mhm.
Right on. I don't know what any of that is. I
Valerian
tr
is a root
Oh,
um,
okay.
that's naturally calming. I think it's also used for like cold remedies and stuff. So
Kind of like a maybe similar to a melatonin type thing.
yeah. Hmm.
For me, I don't do any. I do as few medicines as I possibly can. In fact, I have trouble. I try not to take Advil even, but that's just me. Um,
I do sometimes I'll take Advil PM to sleep, um,
right.
but I
Yeah, my
find
wife
that
needs to use that sometimes too.
yeah, and I find that sometimes even though it says not habit forming, for people like us, damn near everything's habit forming.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like
so.
so sometimes I got to check myself and be like, hey, you know what? I had this every day for 5 days straight. Is there maybe I need to stop. And I also notice that sometimes when I take the Advil PM, I wake up with muscle aches, and Advil PM is the same chemical that's in Benadryl, which isn't the greatest for you. So you got to look at that. I find that trying to do it naturally really helps. Just train yourself to sleep, and you will eventually, as long as you. One of the biggest things I learned in sobriety was how to sit or lay and not think. Like
Yeah,
to just let the thoughts go by, um, because when I was up until I stopped being an alcoholic, this is back when I was like 5 years old. I would have the mindset where I would have to take every thought and I'd have to like process it. Be like, oh, hey, I got a lot to do tomorrow. What am I going to do? And I'm sit here and think about it. And I remember there was an alcohol talk I listened to years ago, and this guy was like, alcoholics are the type of people who, if your boss says, "Hey, I got to talk to you got to go sit and think about what he's going to talk to you about for like an
right.
hour, and then you go talk to your boss, and then you got to go sit and think about what he just talked to you about for an hour." And it's like you're spending all this time thinking about a 2 minute talk, which might not even mean anything, and you're stewing about this stuff when really the serenity prayer comes in handy.
Right.
uh, let me accept the things I can't change. There's certain things I can't change.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
we tend to obsess, that's for sure.
absolutely. And OCD, I think someone said it was like the second cousin of or mental illness or something like that. Alcoholism and OCD are usually pretty hand in hand. So we got to look at that.
Matthew says, "Good morning, you bastards." Just kidding. That's a Seinfeld reference for those who know the show. I don't
I do
remember
like the
that reference
Seinfeld.
in Seinfeld. I thought I saw them all, but whatever. Okay. Good morning to you, you bastard. Good morning. So, great topic today. I used to struggle with insomnia a lot when I drank. After binges of a couple of weeks, it would take about 3 to 4 days until I could finally sleep. And yeah, that sounds about right.
Mhm.
I didn't wasn't really a binge drinker, or yes, I was. I was constantly on a binge, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and yeah, I didn't sleep at all.
Mhm.
So you said you'd start to get the DTs and be crawling up my skin for those days. It was miserable,
It
and
was.
yeah, that's for sure. That makes sense. And Marcus already said, but good job, Megan. 52 days. Chris 77 days. Bunch of thanks. Crystal says I would pass out for a couple of hours and then lay there and worry about how screwed up my life was. And that's part of the obsession that I would get as well is realizing that my life was slowly going downhill. Things are starting to spiral out of control, and so
You
I'd have a couple more
literally
drinks until I'd pass out, and that would be one of the reasons I would just continue to drink more and more.
you literally feel like you're dying. I remember feeling like my body was falling apart daily. Like, okay, one day I would wake up and I'd be like, okay, is this the day I'm gonna die? Because I'm pretty much like my body doesn't feel right, my head doesn't feel right, and I almost welcomed it. I was almost like, yeah, you know what? I hope I don't wake up tomorrow because I don't like this.
Yep.
Um, and it's funny because right around the corner of sobriety, everything changes, and you're like, wow, why did I hate this? Oh, I know, I hated it because I didn't have blood. I had alcohol running through my veins, and I actually did have blood. Just disclaimer there. But it was so tainted, and it literally. I remember someone said, religion is for a guy who doesn't want to go to hell. Recovery is for someone who's been to hell and doesn't want to go back. And that sums it up. I mean, it literally was like a living hell, and there was no way out, and there was no way to get to sleep when I needed to. There was a bottle of something by my bed every night. Every night there was a bottle, probably 5 bottles, and I'd swig it when I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I didn't even think that alcohol is what's waking me up to get more alcohol.
Right.
And I think when we talk about these things and we look at the reality of what's going on, um, we can start to think clearly, and we could start to look at this and say, okay, I get what the problem is. A lot of people can try to diagnose whatever mental illness they have with alcohol, and that's for the doctor to decide. That's fine. But I think a lot of times what happens is alcohol messes with your brain so much that you manifest these symptoms. And I found that when I stopped drinking, the symptoms started to go away. Like I
Yep.
didn't have anxiety as bad. I didn't have obsessive thoughts as bad. And the cool thing about it is when you get sober, you can now train yourself to think different. The brain is plasticity, I think is the term, neuroplasticity, which means it can go back, it can change. There's very few things that can actually alter it for good. Um, and those things are pretty drastic. Those are things that maybe you've had all the time, or maybe like an injury or something. It's not usually just the things that alcohol causes. A lot of times, these are things that can be reversed. These are things that can be changed. If you met Terry 5 years ago, you wouldn't recognize him today. I mean, literally, he looks different. Like I remember when I saw him, I'm like, "This isn't Terry from rehab. Who the hell's
I
this
was
guy?"
way rounder.
You were rounder. Your eyes were really, really dark. And for me, I was a lot rounder, and I carried myself differently. And sometimes now, because I have a business where everything's on video, like so I could go back and be like, here's a video when I drank. And sometimes, like last week, I was downloading my old video server to find old stuff, and I'm listening to my voice on webinars when I drank, and I'm like, man, that sucks, but I sure am glad I'm out of it.
Right.
Um, so yeah. All right, let's see here. We took Caesars. Richard says he'd wake up 6 times in the night. Yeah, that's about right. Um, 66 days for Edwin. Awesome. Aaron says I fall asleep to YouTube nightly. Yeah, what I do is I get MP3s and I'll have like little categories. So like I'll know, hey, if I'm in this mood or if I'm in a learning mood. And I use Audible a lot. Like I always use Audible. A lot of stuff. The other night I was listening to character disturbances, and I have a sleep hypnosis. And then in my little music player, I have different things like Ram Dass. He always puts me to sleep. Alan Watts is hit or miss. If I'm in an inquisitive mood, it's kind of difficult to fall asleep to him because he makes you think. Um, but yeah, you just got to look at that. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Where'd we leave off? Nightmares, we did that. Oh, Crystal says, I started drinking decaf coffee. Yes, decaf coffee is a life changer for me. Um, Total game changer. Like, different person. And you guys know that like, one time I came on here and I had coffee and everyone was like, what the hell's the matter with Marcus? And I just put a little bit of coffee in my decaf because I was tired, but bad idea. So, yeah. Let's see. You want to take.
Megan, yeah, Megan had some nightmares.
Mhm.
Did we talk about that one? No.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying yes, we talked about it?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, sorry. Requires AMA. Hey Marcus, come this Friday. I will be 1 year sober. Your channel has been a huge help, especially the talk of the alcohol automatic forgetter. AA didn't help, but you really did. Thank you.
Cool.
And thanks for that. Appreciate that. And what I always tell everybody is try and figure out what works for you and go with it. And for me, I tried everything and I kept the things that worked for me so far. And sobriety is constantly changes for me as I get more sobriety behind me, and I try to take on new things. It's just a matter of trying to work on sobriety daily, not not a constant thing that I have to do, but it's something that I just have to keep in mind and do a little bit of work on every day. So yeah, good job. 1 year,
Absolutely.
awesome.
Cool deal. Thomas says, I was having what I thought was extremely bad dreams with self harming thoughts before my eyes opened in the morning. Turns out my eyes were shut for hours, but I never slept. Yes, that's alcohol. That's pretty much what it does to you. Very disturbing experience. Yeah, and that's why people like, that's why you wake up with a hangover. Now, when you're an alcoholic, you don't because you never stop drinking. You live in a hangover, right? You
Right.
live in it. You just don't realize it. Like, to normal, like, if I was to drink and have a hangover, tomorrow I'd be like, oh my God, what the hell did I do to myself? But if I do that every day, I'm like, well, I guess it's just how I feel.
Yeah, your body
I guess
just
that's it.
resets and you get used to it.
Yep. And it's funny too because like I look at it now, kind of weird noise out there. I look at it now and I'm like, I never thought feeling this good was possible. Like, like literally, my bad days are better than my best days drinking. Like a bad day now is way better than my best day drinking.
Right.
And you know, we look at that and it's we do improve, we do recover, as they say. Um, Millennium says Benadryl works. It is, but be careful with it. I would ask a doctor about that. And also watch what you mix because I know a lot of people listening might still be in active alcoholism, alcoholism. It's like a Lord of the Rings character, alcoholism. But if you're still in addiction, putting other stuff on top of it is not good. Never mix stuff with alcohol. I was doing that. My brother did that, and basically on like we're on watch because one day one of those is gonna overpower or mess us up bad. Um, so you got to watch for that. Mixing alcohol with stuff is not good. That's why it's on the label. It's like don't take this with alcohol because you're gonna get fucked up, you know, and not in the good way. Like let's go to a party and get ripped. Not that that's good, but in a bad way, like you're gonna mess up your brain. You're
Right.
gonna mess up your body. Things start to shut down, and that's what we got to look at. Is the severity of alcoholism? Is things are starting to shut down, right? It's like you shut off some of your conscious mechanisms and you shut off some of the things that are automatically happening. And that's why people go into comas. That's why people have these issues because things are being shut off that are supposed to be there. Like, I'm glad I didn't drink away the little voice that said, hey, breathe, 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 go drink something, wake up, cough, choke that up. I'm glad I didn't drink those away. Sometimes I got scared because sometimes they did start to go away. Uh, which is difficult, very difficult. Okay, you want to take
Yeah,
the
I'll take
next one?
Yvonne, you said a really good app is called Budify. It's a meditation app that really helps you calm your body and mind relax. Sounds awesome. I gotta check it out. Marcus, have you looked at that one?
I have not, but actually, I was thinking of putting stuff out for you guys. If our voices help you, I don't know. Sometimes people are like, "You sound like a dramatic, whiny guy, Marcus." And then I listen to myself back, and I'm like, "Hey, that guy was probably right." But if you guys like that, I was thinking about buying the rights to some relaxing music and making like hour and a half long meditations on things that I've learned throughout my life. I know I did this when I first got sober on one of my other channels, and people really responded to it well. If you guys do like that idea, just say Marcus MP3 or something like that as a comment, and we can kind of try to get those out for you. And I can build an app for it too. And if you like that stuff, it does cost money to make that. You could support us by going to talksober.com. Click on the big support the channel button, and you guys get all kinds of behind the scenes stuff, stuff to help you get sober. I'll put those in there as well as I'll have some here on YouTube as well because they get a lot of views and we want to spread the word. So if you guys like that idea, let us know in the chat box in the
Yes,
comments if you're watching the replay.
absolutely. Peter says blood pressure improves dramatically as well. And yeah, I had quite high blood pressure. I had to be put on meds when I was drinking. And after about, I don't know, 6 months, a year of being sober, I'm got off the meds. No longer have high blood pressure.
And just a side note, we are not doctors, so definitely go to a doctor to check out
Yes.
things like that because they went to school. We did not.
Yep. And
We
all
just
that was under doctor's supervision.
yeah.
Millennium Hope Coast to Coast AM radio is works for me from some George Norrie. Do you know that, Marcus?
I don't.
Okay, awesome.
I
Oh,
do know
Lynn.
my dad used to listen to Static. He would turn the Static channel on and go to bed, and I'm like, "You're nuts." And he
When
is
I'm
nuts.
driving, I like to listen to really bad talk radio. That's usually
Yeah, sometimes I torture myself and
yeah.
listen to really, really right wing Republican radio, which
Yep.
is the exact opposite of what my views
Yep.
are. And I'm just like, and I come home and my wife's like, "You didn't listen to Rush Limbaugh again." And I'm like, "You won't even believe what that guy said."
Quite a character.
Yeah.
Millennium Hippie says, first came across your channel in August, went to rehab, changed my attitude, been sober since, spreading your link. Thanks, Millennium. That's awesome that you've been sober since August, and looks like rehab did change your attitude, and that's the key here is changing your attitude, changing your mindset, your perspective, and try and working on sobriety. That's what I had to do. When I got sober, they said, and you maybe many of you have heard this, but the only thing you have to change is everything. And I thought that meant like what I do throughout the day, like physically what I'm doing. And it wasn't that at all. It was change everything about my mindset
Yeah.
and living in that sober mindset.
And hello to Alabastron Chin Chin. I think I said it right
Oh, yeah, I missed
from
that.
Switzerland. Good to see you here.
Alabaster Chin.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. Thomas, on top of being an alcoholic, I was binge eating 30 minutes before bed to sober up. That's a very harmful effect of drinking. Did anybody have the binge eating at night issue? No. Yes and no. I actually found that the more tired I am, the more hungry I get. This is
Yeah.
an effect I learned with melatonin and the PM medicines. Is I'll get really, really hungry. Um, so that's something you can look at. But yeah, I don't know about binge eating before bed. Um, towards the end of my drinking, I was pretty much living on alcohol. I ate very, very little. My body was really not doing good.
I was easily able to eat massive amounts of food right before bed, no problem. And yeah, that just affects it affected my sleep even more
Hmm.
as far as not getting any is terrible. And that was probably part of the weight gain, along with the 2,500 calories of booze I was drinking a day.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Um,
um, Jason says, "Yeah,
requires
exact." Oh, go ahead.
requires AMA. When I started sobriety, I had these insane dreams where I'd hear a woman. I lived alone. It was absolutely terrifying. Um, yeah, me too. Well, I did. I don't know that I heard a woman, but I had some pretty crazy dreams when I first got sober, and they slowly mellowed out. I still will have a drinking dream here and there,
Hmm.
but I wake up and realize I'm still sober, and it's terrifying when I have that dream.
Hmm.
But when I wake up, I'm relieved to find out that I'm still sober, and it was just a dream.
Yeah, it
And
is.
then, Mama, I don't think we've seen you for a little while. You've been here before. Hi back.
How you
Good to
doing?
see you.
Yeah, I found that those dreams are kind of like a blessing because you're like, wow, I'm so glad that that's not reality anymore. I'm so glad that I don't live in that world of constant, perpetual drinking and insanity. And everything like that. And for those that don't know, I actually did go insane. I was sent to a mental facility, and it was not good, and not good. Hi, Christine. How you doing? And good morning to you. All right. One other bit of business, too, for those that want to support the show, go to talksober.com, help us out there. And I'm also looking for someone to write notes on the live streams and videos. This would be a small paid position, be like, I don't know, $100 a week, $150 a week, or whatever, and you could do it a couple hours. I thought I would extend it to you guys because you guys get sobriety, so I think notes coming from you guys would be different. So if anyone's interested in that, go over to talksober.com and get me on live chat. Okay. And as we go, obviously, you'd probably be able to earn more and stuff like that. But for right now, a couple hours a week or something you can do. Um, so if anyone is interested in that, go to talksober.com if my little office doesn't blow away in the wind, and let us know that you are interested in that. Okay, and you can also let us know on here. You can reach out to us on the channel too.
And Lynn, it's okay. Lynn, you just said that you're embarrassed to admit this, but you relapsed, and yeah, it's embarrassing. That's what keeps a lot of people from trying to get sober again. And it's okay. This is an illness.
Mm-hmm.
Of course it's not okay to relapse. You know that, but it's okay to admit it and
Mm-hmm.
get back there.
Yeah,
Try to
and
stop
and
drinking now, or if you have stopped drinking, do what you need to do. Try to figure out what you need to do. Do more than you were doing before.
I would also reframe it as, um, I did relapse. Like it's back there. It's done.
Yeah,
Like if you keep bringing it into the now, that's going to keep you living in it. But if you're like now, I mean, that was yesterday, right? Drinking was 5 years ago. So don't dwell on it. Just get back up, go for it, and let the uncomfortable emotions around it propel you to do better. Because that's what happens in our life is we use uncomfortable emotions, and as alcoholics, we get used to drinking them down, and we never really deal with them. When really they're like a little fire detector in our head saying beep 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 beep, you need to go do this. And if we don't do anything and we just drink the fire alarm away, um, then we're not really growing.
right.
So yeah.
I have a friend that I talked about a few weeks ago that had started drinking again after having some sobriety, and he's sober now. He finally made it. He got sober. Um, he's got a lot to deal with, destroyed a lot of things, but just taking it one little thing at a time,
Hmm.
one little thing that he needs to do each day, and trying to keep sobriety as a top priority in his life for, and that's what's working for him.
Hmm.
And you'll find that if you reach out for help, there's a lot of people that are going to help you get on that road to sobriety and stay sober.
Hmm. Cool.
And like Matthew is saying, just keep going, Lynn. Relapsing is okay. It's not a bad thing. Just be sober now.
Hmm.
People are there to talk to you too if you need.
Cool.
So yeah,
All right. Any other questions? We do have to stop right at 12 today. But we got 14 minutes for questions if you guys have any pressing needs or questions or thoughts on your mind about sleep, alcohol, life in general, and we'll help you with it.
right on.
Cool. Also, make sure you subscribe if you have not yet subscribed. We do these talks every Thursday at 11 a.m. unless there's some like pressing issue we have to get to. Um, but we try to do them every Thursday. And if you go over to talksober.com, you can click the little support the channel button. That helps us pay for servers and camera equipment. My camera died last week, so I had to order a new one, and all kinds of stuff like that. I don't know. It worked forever, and then it like started showing three
Huh.
upside down pictures of what was ever on my screen. I was like, wait, that's weird. Okay, here we got a couple others here. Millennium Hippie, love the name. That's pretty cool. I relapsed when I had 19 months. It was all bad. What keeps me sober today is I remember the pain. Same here. I love remembering the pain. Like, hey,
Yep.
Not going back there, and have plenty of gratitude. Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right,
Gratitude
you
is
want to
huge.
take THC?
Sure. Good to see you again every week. Hey, gang, dealing with the hangover today. Don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but can't picture a life without. Looks like that's a pitcher of beer. Glad to be able to join for a few seconds. Well, you got to keep on trying if you want to quit drinking.
And join
Um,
for a little more than a few seconds.
yep,
Yeah, because you really got to train yourself and you got to learn a new way of life
right,
because you've been programmed that life is better with the drink. You're programmed every time since you're a kid. You know, you're a kid. I remember being a kid and I'm like, I want to sit at the big Thanksgiving table and drink that wine. And I didn't even know what it tastes like or what it did, but the adults had it and I couldn't. So I should be able to have it. And then when you start to get older and your friends have it, and you're like, okay. And then you watch football, and they're like, if you drink alcohol, pretty women are just going to walk in your house. They're just going to come off the street, and there's going to be a fancy car, and everyone's going to have fun, and you're probably going to turn into a knight from the 19th century and ride on a stallion. And it's like, this is what's been going into our minds, and we're like, well, why do I think I can't live without drinking? Well, because the alcohol industry pays a lot of money for you to have that mindset. So I would thank them and be like, thank you, but now I'm not going to do it because if you think you can't live without alcohol, that's exactly what they want. I mean, there's studies out there that say that they know that the bulk of the money comes from alcoholics and they still market to them anyway, which is pretty screwed up. I know in my Facebook feed there's always some kind of alcohol thing. It's like, get sober, drink a bottle. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here, Facebook? Might want to change your, algorithm here. Um, and by the way, Facebook, rehab ads pay a hell of a lot more than Bud Light ads. So, I mean, figure it out, right? But you got to look at that, and it is a new way of life, and you got to focus, and you got to say, you know what, that is indoctrination, that is bullshit. I'm not going to believe it anymore because you know what? I want you to picture your life with alcohol. You're sitting there, you're hungover, you feel like shit. That's life without alcohol. You need to picture it without. It's not that, right? So there you go. Flip the script. Say, hey, that's what it's like. Um, so yeah. All right. Trust me, THC gamer, you haven't experienced happiness like the happiness one feels completely sober. I totally agree. Um, Chris says, my friendship is more sought after now that I'm sober. It's pretty true. Lynn says, I'm drunk right now. I hate that I drink in response to stressful events. Well, it's really not a good idea to try to help someone while they're drunk because your mind is warped right now. Get sober, watch some more videos, go to the doctor, um, and learn to respond to stress in a different way. Because I think you'll find that alcohol actually makes it worse. I know for me, there was no problem, no stressful situation. Like when I had money trouble and I drank, despite what the commercials saw, I didn't get more money. When I had relationship trouble and I drank, despite what I thought, didn't make it better. What it did is it suppressed everything and then it blew up in my face later. So learn to respond to stressful events. Listen to a tape. Take 15 minutes. Say, I'm going to take 15 minutes. I'm going to pause. Let's think about this. Let's deal with it. 15 minutes later, you probably won't even have to drink because it's going to subside anyway. So I would look at that. All right, you want to take a couple others here?
sure. THC says, thanks, Edwin. I do not know what you mean, and you're referring to, trust me, THC gamer, you haven't experienced happiness like the happiness one feels when completely sober.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I understand what Edwin's saying, and that's just the fact that my life is so much better being sober than when I was drinking. It's all my problems, or most of my problems, have gone away or gotten a lot less,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm there 24 hours a day now. It's awesome. I couldn't even begin to explain all of the benefits of my being sober,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what Edwin is trying to steer towards right
Yeah.
there.
And it's right over the hill. Like it's right there. You just have to do it.
And sorry,
Um,
Rebecca, difference in volume is maddening. Sorry.
That's why you got to support the channel so we can get someone to fix our audio. We do try to do as best as we can. All I have is like a little level thing, and I can see where my level is, and it goes to yellow, and I can see where Terry's is, and I don't know, Terry, talk. Let's see if it goes to red or yellow.
Uh, Darla, good job. 8 days sober. Never felt better. So happy. Awesome. 8 days. That's huge. Good
Hmm.
job. Did I go into the red there?
I think so. I think we're probably lined up now. Does it
Oh,
sound
okay.
better now?
Well, we'll find out. Edwin says, I fooled myself for 10 years, convincing myself over and over again that I needed it. And yeah, I convinced myself for many, many more years than that. Millennium, alcohol is only a temporary band aid. Remember why you don't want to drink. And yeah, I agree. I didn't really look at it as a band aid for me. It was just something I wanted, and then it became something I needed. And yeah, pretty much that simple.
All right. All right, we got about 7 minutes left. Run Platypus says, year and a half sober. Awesome. He says, Marcus, great vids helped me a lot. Learning to make friends with non drinking folks, they are hard to find. Um, you can check out meetup.com. There's people that meet up for all kinds of things. And you can find people that are interested in books or philosophy. Or I went to a YouTuber meetup the other day. It was pretty cool. Um, so there's all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of people out there that are not alcoholics and don't drink. You just got to find them. Okay, Megan says, I used to think alcohol made me be this amazing friendly person that I thought I couldn't be without it, but I have to accept the sober me how I am. Megan, actually I have an interesting thing about that cuz I thought alcohol made me more funny and
Right.
more outgoing and everything, and I actually found that I was always those things. Like I'm the same person I was when I was like 8, and I think for you're probably going to find that you were always those things. You're probably amazing and friendly. Um, Alcohol just made you think highly of it because it makes us. It's the ego. It's like pour some alcohol on the ego, and all of a sudden you're Superman or Superwoman in that case. But I'm guessing that everyone here that has things that they think alcohol makes better, those are in you anyway. Because it's like if you have a guy who's like a total dick and he drinks, he becomes a bigger jerk. So it's just kind of like accentuating it. But I think with you, it's like, you have those things, just tap into them. Like that guy was always a jerk. He just accentuated it or whatever. I hope that makes sense. I know. Made sense in
Absolutely.
my brain.
Chris says getting sober doesn't solve the problem, it helps us handle it better.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely agree with that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Cool.
Uh, Yvonne says, sorry, medication app is spelled. Oh, okay. You spelled it different.
Meditation,
Meditation.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, this time you said medication, but you're talking about the meditation app.
Yeah.
So,
Science hasn't evolved that much for a medication app, but kind of scary to think it's going that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Um, let's see. Thomas said earlier, you said I started smelling empty beer cans the next day. Uh, Made me throw up, lol. Then asked myself, what the hell would I drink this shit? And same with cigarettes. It could work for somebody. Someone never know. You mean like smelling it would make you not want it, or I'm not sure
He
what you
would
mean.
try to like hack his brain to where when he
Right.
felt like shit, he would try to associate the smell with it. Um, I tried to do that too. It didn't work towards the end because I didn't care because I
Yeah.
wasn't drinking for the taste.
Yeah.
Um,
I drank in the morning with when I had a hangover. I just drink in the morning to cure
yeah,
it. That first one was hard to put down, but then it was no problem.
yeah. I'll never forget the cooking wines and the 90-degree beers. Those were just, yeah.
Oh, you didn't want it the next day sober. Got it. Got it. I know a lot of people that are sober that they can't. They have big time problems when they go to a party or wherever where they can smell alcohol. I'm in the catering business, so I smell alcohol all the time, and I cook with wine because I'm a chef, and so it's not as big of a deal for me. But it's something I have to be aware of, and have to be aware if I'm starting to get a trigger or not, which it hasn't happened in a while, but it could. So I need to be aware of that and keep my
And
sobriety there.
also, don't like go testing yourself if you think it's a problem. Like if you
Right.
think it's a problem, It probably is. So just wait it out. Cook with not wine. I cooked without wine for a long time because I love to cook. And now occasionally I'll cook with it. It's kind of weird because I'm like, wow, I've had like these little bottles of wine in our pantry for a long time, and those never lasted when I was drinking. Never. Like, have a box of 8 of them and they'd be gone. Um,
Yep.
and it never went in the food, surprisingly. I was like, I'm not putting that shit in the food. That's all I got. So, be careful with that if it is a trigger. Watch out for those. Be on guard. This is your sobriety. This is your mindset. You got to do it the way that you want. Megan says, true, I'm realizing that I am all those good things without alcohol. And that's true. Um, so I think that wraps up for today. If you do want to help support the channel, talksober.com, click the big button. And also, if you are interested in being a note writer for our videos, which, you'll make a little bit of money. Don't have a huge budget for it, but if you do want to make a little bit extra while you're watching these and taking notes anyway, I think it could be something that's good for you. Contact us at talksober.com, or let me know here. Just say, yeah, I'm interested in that, and we'll help you with that. Okay, last question. Jeffrey says, I've been drinking every day for years. I haven't worked in over a year due to crippling anxiety and fear. No showers for days. Sleeping patterns are shot. I need help quitting. Jeffrey, I would highly recommend an inpatient rehab. Um, yeah, that's what I'd recommend, because I asked for help like that 5 years ago, and I had the same thing 5 years ago.
Yep.
I just was able to work from home, so it was a little bit different. But if you need help quitting, get help quitting.
Yep.
If videos aren't enough, if AA is not enough, go to a rehab, go to the doctor. This is not something to mess around with. And after your rehab, come on back on here and be like, hey, I'm 30 days sober. And we'll be like, welcome, Jeffrey. Let's get you continuing on.
Right
Um,
on.
and I think that'll help you. If there's financial issues with the rehab, call around. There's going to be a way to get help. Um, there's options out there. So you gotta use those options, and you gotta get
Right.
them. So
And
um,
just real quickly, Atena vanilla extract is 33% alcohol. So, no, I stay away from it. It's almost the same power as vodka. So,
and I think it's extremely bad for you.
right.
Extremely bad. Like so. Yeah. All right, guys. So get some good sleep.
That's
Don't let
right.
the little things bug you. Don't drink to fall asleep. Don't fight it when you can't sleep. Focus on sobriety. A better life is right around the corner. You are all the good things that you think you are without alcohol. Don't listen to
Right.
the lies that society and life has put on us. Be you, unapologetically. Be good. Share good things. And love everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.